Okay, so in today's video, we're going to tear into some stuff on the motor on this J20. So the first thing we're going to be deleting, we're going to delete this smog pump. First thing we got to try to do is get the 8 bolts that come up out here, out of the exhaust manifold. There's 4 on each side. Take these little lines off. If we can manage to get all 4 of them out, we're going to try to delete that smog pump, everything that has to do with emissions up here. We're going to delete this big vacuum catch can and try to clean up some of all these vacuum lines, because all we really truly need is the stuff going to that accumulator and going over to the brake booster. And in all honesty, the truck is too far gone to worry about keeping original or ever truly restoring. And we're just going to continue to have issues with vacuum lines. So I would like to eliminate a lot of this stuff, clean up the engine bay a little bit, and make things a little bit easier to service. Also, while we're under here, we're going to have to put this wiring harness back together. So, well, we'll start breaking these loose. I already managed to get 2 of these plumb out. This one's not coming very easy though. Huh. Now I thought there was one on the backmost manifold port too, but I guess there isn't. That's just handy. I was thinking about selling this stuff on eBay just to see if somebody would give me $1 for it. Maybe somebody was restoring one, but that just broke off, so nobody probably want it now. So, yeah. Looks like we got all 3 loose back here. So we'll move on to the other side where all the mess is. Okay, now we got one here that's definitely going to be a pain. These over here do not look to be in nearly as good a shape as they were on the other side. So it will be shocking if they manage to come loose. Oh. Would appear to me the first thing we're going to have to do is take this catch can loose. And that is what, a 7/16? Okay, we got that up out of our way there. Now we might have a little access. With that canister off, you can see I can get down in here a little better. Alright. That one broke loose. These are 3/16 by the way. Trying to be gentle with all the wires. Yep. Oh, come loose. It just goes to show how low mileage this thing is. Because any other time I pull these out of a the motor, you break every single one of them off. And we do have one on the 4-cylinder back. On this side. Okay, that last one I'm going to have to fight on my own. Okay, I was able to get the rearmost bolt out of here. You can go down in this bracket with your arm and reach back if you got long arms. That's underneath the heater core box. Next thing we're going to do is pull this evap canister off. Just for future information, so when you're trying to put some sort of a vacuum system back on this sucker, it's good to know exactly what these lines are. So this is the vent from the carb bowl. Now, I'll be honest with you, I normally just let them vent. This is the vent from the tank, which will run all the way from the back to the front. This is for the PCV, and this is distributor vacuum. So we're going to go ahead and pop these clamps off and pull those individual hoses off. The biggest thing right now that we want to figure out is, where's our vacuum to that canister up there on the wall hooked up? Where's the vacuum for the brake booster hooked up? And the distributor advance is hooked in right here. Normally always will be on a Motorcraft 2100 no matter what the heck it's on. So looking at our brake booster, it would appear it goes to this port in the intake manifold right hither. Then we have another vacuum line which is going over here, and then going into something smaller and pulling on something that goes into the coolant neck. Or is that just a vacuum block they have set up there? That's just a vacuum block they have set up. Because here's your main vacuum going into that block, which hooks up to the metered port, or the port for the vacuum advance on the distributor, or on the carburetor. Then here's the line going to the distributor, and then here's the line going back through that 90 into here, which is where the brake booster's hooked up. And that doesn't make any sense hardly at all, because then you're just pulling all kinds of advance on that, unless if this thing here is just metered, which it might be. So we know where our brake booster's hooked up at. We're not going to be messing with that much. Looks like this here on the back one, we got a giant vacuum leak right there because this is disconnected. And then it looks like it comes out of this accumulator right here. And then I'm guessing that hard line is for the switch. For the Quadra-Track, the super lock. But what the heck are these two prongs for? Alright, anyway, we know that we're probably not going to mess with anything that pertains to how that gets its vacuum. So, pretty much, we got a lot of crap we can delete here. So, and some things we can cap. Now, this thing here is some kind of a regulator. Where did it go? It goes around here, hooks up on there. I guess to pull even vacuum or something. Alright, we got a lot of disconnecting to do. But the first thing we're going to do, pull this tank. Alright, got the evap canister pulled over here that we were looking at. Gonna have to pull the bracket off here in a minute. We're gonna go ahead and jerk all this exhaust gas pump off here. And we took the bolts out over here. This side up and loose. Alright. So there we are with that. Oh, another one broke. Nobody's gonna want this thing now. So that freed us up quite a bit of space. Now we can really get in here and see how screwed up that fuel line is. I'm not quite sure exactly what's next here. Gotta do some digging. Alright, there's two 5/16 bolts that hold this bracket for the evap canister on. The one on the top here broke on me. And I think this one's just gonna be spinning. Either way, I'll show you when we get that off. You gotta remove that. Alright, we got our wiring neatened back up, mostly back in the factory loom. So the next thing we're going to do is gotta wait till tomorrow. Run to the parts store, gotta get some pipe caps or some pipe plugs, and gotta get some vacuum caps so we can start capping some vacuum ports that we don't really need. Then this carburetor is gonna need a rebuild. So that'll be coming here soon in the future. Okay, cutting some bolts down to use for plugs for the air tube holes that run over to the smog pump. So 9/16, 18 threads an inch bolts. Gonna come through here and we're gonna cut it off 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 between the 6th and 7th thread with grinder. Y'all messing my tunes up. I can't record on my phone. Let it cool down. Stick her in the hole. For whatever reason, the camera quit recording, but we came over here, we test fit that in the hole to ensure that the threads were not jacked up. Now we've coated it in anti-seize and we're going to go ahead and install it in the port. The anti-seize is probably a waste of time. I don't ever see myself having to take these out, but might as well try to make life easy on you if need be in the future. And just snug. There we go. Show you all them when we get them all installed. Okay, we're getting into pulling this air pump, smog pump off. First thing you're going to have to do is remove this 9/16 bolt right here. I've already removed it and reinstalled it. That holds the adjuster for the smog pump on. Then you're going to have to take a pair of vice grips and lightly clamp them on the pulley. And there are 3 7/16 bolts that retain this pulley. So you're going to have to pull those 3 bolts off in order to get to the bottom bolt that holds the air pump on, which is back in here. You can't really see it. It's underneath that bracket. There you go. That bolt right there. Once we pull that bolt, we should be able to remove the pump. So I've got these bolts on the pulley loosened. I just got to pull them out, and they're not quite finger tight. So I'm going to pull that pulley off, then pull that other bolt out, and that's how you pull the smog pump, or air pump. Really, it's just an air pump. Pumps air into the exhaust. So, actually, believe it or not, it's not a bad thing to have on the truck. Nothing wrong with reducing some CO2, I guess. But in this case, my goal is to just get everything out of the engine bay that does not require this thing to go forward and backward and work out of here. Plus, somebody could be restoring one of these and want that pump. It's in good shape. It works. So, might stick it on eBay or something. So, I'm just getting it out of my way. Smog pump gone. Looks a lot more clean. So, actually, this thing's in pretty good shape. I went ahead and pulled the adjuster and the lower bracket off. But if you listen closely, it's still pumping air, working just fine. Clean that up. Might put it on eBay. See if it brings a couple pennies. The other thing I did that I didn't show you on video, I figured it'd just be easier to go through and show you. We pulled a bunch of vacuum lines that went to the evap canister. Showed you that yesterday. Let me show you what I capped off and what I didn't, and the reasoning between. So this line here went to the evap canister. Pulled that off and plugged it. There was another small line that come off of the line that goes into the, I believe that's a vacuum accumulator. Plugged it off. Our vacuum for our advance on the distributor is hooked up and routed here out to the distributor. We plugged off the small port down here in the front of the carburetor. It was doing some weird things. It actually ran from there over into the main vacuum line where the brake booster's hooked up. They go straight into the manifold. So we capped it off here at the carburetor, and we capped the little tip right off right there. We also decided that we weren't going to use anything on these vacuum trees. So we took the input line to that off and all the accompanying lines. And then I don't know what this up here that had vacuum lines run to it exactly is. I believe that is an intake runner. So I don't know. And we capped off another line over here. This was just dangling. No clue where it, oh no, it was dangling, but I believe it was the line that hooked up to that sensor up there, or up to the line that went into the accumulator up there. So that's what we've capped off and what we're still using. All those metal vacuum lines that go back, I believe that goes down for the quadra track switch. Don't know for sure. It's all hooked up. We're going to leave it that way. We also left this hooked up. It goes up to provide vacuum assistance for the electric choke. I believe is what that does, or temperature, one of the two. We left all that hooked up. It also has a line that goes up into the breather of the carburetor. So, or up in the top behind the air cleaner on the carburetor. So that's what we did with the vacuum stuff. We plugged all 4 of those airline holes in the exhaust manifold on this side. And we plugged all 4 of them, or all 3 of them, on this side. So between that and the neatening we did on the wiring harness, things are looking a little bit simpler here under the hood. So just getting that stuff out of the way. It's going to be a work truck. It's probably going to give issues when or if it ever gets to the point where I'm using it. So the less stuff that's in the way, easier it is to work on things. So, um, in another video coming up, we're going to have to pull that carburetor off there. It needs rebuilt. Uh, Once we do all that, then we're going to kind of give it a tune up. We'll obviously tune it for the best vacuum. It needs a set of spark plug wires. Got to change the oil in it again. Um, then basically everything up here under the hood that I want to do is done. So I'm pretty happy with it. So y'all have a good one. And we'll see you on the next one, I guess. We're gonna have to do something with these belts too.